Kenny Omega returns, setting up a dream rematch against Kazuchika Okada. Edge returns, setting up a Moxley and Christian title triangle. Will Ospreay somehow put two classics on in the same night? Yet all I want to talk about is that the Tijuana street fight clearly had two tricycles set up on the entrance ramp, but nobody used them. You ruined 2024 for me, AEW. You ruined it. I'm Ollie Davis, your new Jam That Champion. Beat sat fair and square on our Christmas Day quiz. Oh, it's a legit title reign. And this is my review of Worlds End 2024. In about 10 minutes.
Support WrestleTalk!
Before I get into the show, please super kick the thumbs up button and pile drive the subscribe, as we're about to go into 2025. Then you can stay up to date with the huge start to the year with the first Dynamite on Max this Wednesday and WWE's massive move to Netflix from the 6th. The World's End 0 Hour pre-show had Toni Storm beat Layla Gray with a surprise roll-up. There wasn't much heat, but I think this new Toni Storm is definitely one to watch. She's got a bright future ahead of her. Jeff Jarrett beat QT Marshall in the most house show match that ever house showed. This was such a house show match, I actually took a mortgage out on it. Most interestingly, however, was Double J announcing he'll make an announcement about his career on Wednesday's Dynamite, which I'm predicting will be a retirement tour for 2025. And Lio Rush stole his team's win from Lance Archer against Top Flight and the Outrunners, which set up a stare-down with Rush and Action Andretti against the tag champions Private Party afterwards. After the tag team titles main evented AEW's first pay-per-view of the year with Sting's retirement, the belts weren't even defended on the pre-show here. If you're going to elevate teams by giving them the titles, you actually need to book them like you would established stars. Sometimes feels like AEW only cares about the tag belts when either the Young Bucks or FTR have them. But who needs tag team wrestling when you've got... Oh yeah, when you've got tournaments. And not just tournaments on weekly TV. Oh my, but both the semi-finals and the fully erect finals on the same pay-per-view night. Oh! The main card opened with both of the Continental Classic semi-final matches, which gave the whole show thematic bookends. I'm just pretending Okada vs Ospreay closed the show rather than Moxley's Dick Riders, making the pay-per-view feel like it had one coherent narrative. The first of these was the excellent Will Ospreay vs Kyle Fletcher, who started their competitive blood feud not with a brawl or lock-up like cowards, but with a series of insanely fast reversals and Ospreay getting busted open with an absolute gusher, and Kyle's pristinely white boot getting covered in red whenever he kicked Will in the face. All the blood made it feel like we were at the half-hour mark of an epic war, rather than how long the match had actually been going on for, which was about 3 minutes. Fletcher tried to use the ropes for a pin, but the referee caught him, arguably giving him the cheating backfire that led to his loss, as it then went into a series of great near falls and Will somehow telling physics to take the Christmas period off when he reversed a brainbuster into a Hurricane Rana, then a Styles Clash to win. Even though I predicted Fletcher to win at the start of the tournament, I feel like he's come out looking even better than when it began, especially with the actual best spot of this match, when he ripped up a fan's sign that read Ospreay's better for the same fan to reveal a backup sign that read Ospreay's still better. I could also see either Ricochet or Okada winning their match, with both guys having built-in stories against Ospreay in the final. They had a very different kind of story to Will and Fletcher, with Okada realizing he's got to wrestle twice tonight, so he's going to do, well, mostly nothing. But there's few better at doing mostly nothing than the defending Continental Champion, and him running the ropes back and forth and side to side just to slap Ricochet on the baldness of his head, mocking everything Ospreay and Fletcher just did, was one of the night's best spots. He eventually hit one Rainmaker in just over 10 minutes to win. Afterwards, Swerve Strickland came out to deliver on his promise of humiliating Ricochet if he blew it in the C2, giving the crowd toilet rolls to throw at Rick as though they were streamers, which Ricochet sold by vibrating with anger. I think Ospreay with the bleeding head was more in need of that tissue paper. Both Ospreay, covered in blood and swearing, and Okada, calm with barely a drop of sweat on him, cut promos with Renee backstage, establishing the injured underdog versus the greatest tournament wrestler of all time for the final later on. Mariah May then retained her women's title against Thunder Rosa in a filler spot, both in terms of the show, with them wrestling a Tijuana street fight as a hardcore palate cleanser from the opening C2 matches, but also in May's title reign, with Rosa just filling time until that plucky rookie Toni Storm can build herself up to face Mariah. There were trash cans, there was Mr. Rosa's walking stick, there was a piñata full of thumbtacks, but there wasn't a single use of the two tricycles that were placed by the entrance. Why have them there unless you're going to do a race from the top of the ramp down to the bottom to get a weapon? They won with a pile driver through a table outside. I love Adam Cole. I love MJF. I loved a lot of what they did together in 2023. So it genuinely hurts me to see them both still in this lackluster feud. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett were guarding the Dynamite Diamond ring at ringside to stop Max from using it. Both MJF and Cole bladed, which makes sense with their blood feud, but it felt like a cheap way to get the crowd invested. Max threw himself into the steel steps to frame Taven and Bennett to get them ejected. He tried to use the diamond ring behind the referee's back, but Cole got it off him to, zero heat. Max kicked him in the balls instead and hit one heat seeker for a weak win. Max went to Pillmanize Cole's previously injured ankle in a chair afterwards, but rather than Taven and Bennett, who were literally just there making the save, Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly came down instead. They all hit their moves on MJF, Taven and Bennett joined them. The Undisputed Kingdom are all together again. Again to not much heat. I just hope them and Max can go their separate ways and move on from this story now. Wouldn't mind if Takeshita and Hobbs continued their feud though, because it turns out we didn't eat all the turkey at Christmas, as there was still a load of meat in this ring. Hobbs sold his knee really well throughout, giving him the underdog psychology despite being the more powerful of the two. Aubrey ended up having to help Hobbs remove his leg brace, but that let Takeshita hit his Raging Fire to retain the international title. After one of the best women's matches in AEW history at Full Gear, Mercedes Mone and Kris Statlander went at it again over the TBS title here, and it was just as good. Going 25 minutes, not only the longest match on the card, but also the longest women's pay-per-view match in AEW history. Mone and Kris told a great story of power versus smarts. They got over Chris's strength advantage early, having her carry Mone up the steel steps to hit a body slam on the apron. But then, in a neat mirror image, Mercedes hit her own ring apron powerbomb move from slipping out of Chris's top rope superplex attempt, using her smarts. This played into the finish, where the apron got pulled off the side of the ring and Mercedes wedged Statlander's boot in the metal rungs underneath. I'm choosing to ignore that Mone broke the count to do that to, win by countout. Kris took her boot off to escape, using her smarts now as her power has taken a hit, but walked straight into a pile driver on the apron. This led to a fantastic visual where Mone was celebrating a countout win sitting by the ropes when Kris climbed back in the ring to shock beside her. Mone ultimately got the win though, getting the better of a sequence of technical pins. Even though Mercedes has beaten Kris clean twice, it felt like they could do a third match. I would have preferred the C2 final to have been the main event. It was far bigger than Moxley's four-way filler title defense and had the much more dramatic story. Will stumbled down to the ring with his head bandaged up, dried blood in his hair, while Okada gracefully walked down, ready to work over Will's head and leg for 15 minutes, before going absolutely crazy for the last 5. The final act of this match was the best thing on the entire show for me. Firstly, Ospreay hit the Styles Clash, the move he beat Fletcher with earlier in the night, but Okada kicked out. Then Okada hit his Rainmaker, the move he beat Ricochet with earlier in the night, but Ospreay kicked out. They then went into an incredible sequence that brought the whole crowd to their feet, finishing with Will hitting a Rainmaker of his own, then a Stormbreaker for a near fall. They went even faster with several more moments, Okada hitting his perfect every-time dropkick counter on Will's Oscutter, and Okada hit a Rainmaker to win. I don't think there's a 20-minute time limit for the final, but I wish this could have gone 5 more minutes. I would have also had Ospreay win, considering he's mostly lost his big matches this year, but the post-match showed why Okada was the right choice. Christopher Daniels walked out to say he can't present the Continental title to Okada because he's no longer an EVP, but this man is. Introducing Kenny, by God, Omega. Yes, I don't know why AEW has a 1 EVP in, 1 EVP out rule. Yes, I also thought Daniels was an acting EVP for Tony Khan, not Omega. What are the rules? What are the rules? But it doesn't matter because Kenny is back, and we got a tantalizing shot of him going face to face with Okada and the All In 2025 poster in the background. The AEW World Title main event was unfortunately by far the weakest match on the main card, and the crowd had already peaked for the last several matches. The Dick Riders interfered early, with security eventually walking them out of the stands. Cassidy, Page and White hit a Shield-style powerbomb on Moxley through the table. Everyone started to hit their big moves, but at just 15 minutes, they started to work towards the interference-heavy finish. Wheeler Yuta took out the ref, breaking up Jay's Blade Runner pin on Mox. White had a Blade Runner on Marina, but Yuta hit a knee on White, letting Moxley retain in a very limp finish. The big post-match angle was FTR coming out first for their Tron to neatly switch to rated FTR for Adam Copeland to make his return and spear Moxley, while Christian, who has the title contract, was watching on from the stands. AEW Worlds End is 75%. But who was the best wrestler of 2024? Click the video on screen now to watch our special episode of Tables, Lists and Chairs.